Hi, honeys, and welcome back to another episode of Ghetto Do It For You. All right. Sorry there was no episode last week. There's a lot going on in life lately. I'm not going to talk about it on here, but just a lot going on. So I'm pre-recording this because I'm not sure how things are playing out right now. So I'm really sorry, you guys, if they're going to be like sporadic. Like the podcasts probably aren't going to be consistent for a little bit. Life's just been lifing, I guess we'll call it. And there's just some personal things that I'm having to deal with, and the podcast, like, it's very overwhelming with everything, so I'm really sorry. But anyways, let's get into today's episode. So I wanted to touch on change isn't scary. Like, it doesn't have to be. It can seem so terrifying, but it can also be freeing in the same instance. Because when you change, you grow, right? Like, I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, heck, even 2 years ago, and that's a good thing. Like, you're evolving, we're changing, we are human beings, this is what we do. That is the whole point. And I'm sure you've heard the quote, like, it's not always about the destination, it's about the journey on getting there and all of those things. And I really do believe in that. Like, it really is all about how you get there, what you go through, and all of those things that just are a part of life. Growing is scary. Like, no one wants to start over because that's what it seems like, right? Every time there is a new thing in life, you're scared. Like, you don't want to be bad at something new that you've never done before. You don't want to be nervous that you're going to be laughed at or judged because you're new, or you're changing something, like changing your career. When you're in your 30s, you might be like, oh shit, like, is this a bad thing to do it? Like, I'm terrified because, the security of a job is now gone that I've been in for however many long. But usually stuff like that works out for the better, and as much as it's scary, it's usually worth it. So, like, me and Matthew are considering moving to a different state in the near future, and it's absolutely terrifying because we're leaving our normal behind. And I honestly thought that moving to a different state wouldn't be that big of a deal for me. Foolishly thought that because I moved country when I was so young. I was like, well, I've moved country, I can move state, like, it doesn't matter. But it's like, I was 13 when I moved country, so yeah, there was a lot of my life that changed drastically, but you also had the fact of I was still in school, I was still young, I could make friends, I had to go through all of these life experiences, dating, new jobs, meeting coworkers, high school, going through that and making friends that way, college, right? There was all these things to look forward to that I could make friends. Now, when I was 13 moving here, I didn't see that side of it, don't let me get it twisted. I was not so forthcoming with my attitude and being happy. I hated it when I first moved here, don't let me lie to you guys. However, it was worth it in the end, right? Like, the change was terrifying, coming to a completely new country, having an accent, standing out from everyone, dressing different from everybody, people laughing at you, making fun of you, right? It's not fun. But now I'm moving state in a couple years, and it terrifies me because now my normal is here in Florida, and now I'm leaving behind my parents and my friends and what I have made of my life for the past 10 years, right? Like, I have now turned my life into something different, and now it's like that life I'm leaving behind. And it's also like Matthew, this is all he's ever known, so he's leaving behind like his whole life, right? Mine's is only at 10 years, but now that I'm older, and I think the reason it's very difficult for me now compared to when I was 13 was that wasn't really my choice when I was so young. Like, my parents were moving, so I was moving with my parents. Like, I didn't make the choice to move here, so it was like, yeah, my parents are going, obviously I'm gonna go, like, that's what we're doing with the family. And it was like my parents were figuring out how we were going to live. My parents were the ones figuring out where we're going to stay and getting jobs, and like, I just had to go to school. Now it's like I am making this decision with my husband. Like, we are choosing to move to a different state, so like, we have to find a house to live in, and we have to make sure we have job lined up, and we are the ones choosing to uproot our lives and move them to a different state. And yes, we will be able to visit, but it's like the fear of unknown. I am shitting myself. Like, no lie, I'm terrified. And I know it'll be okay, and I know it'll be worth it, and so what if we hate it and in 5 years we're like, no, we need to move back to Florida? Like, okay, But I also, like, nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants to end up like that. But, like, you never know until you do it, right? Like, you're not going to know if you're going to like it in a different state until you actually move. And that was one of the things that me and Matthew were talking about was we don't even know where we want to end up. We just know we want out of Florida. Like, we don't even know, is it Georgia? Is it the Carolinas? Is it Tennessee? Is it Michigan? Is it Oregon? I don't know. Some of these we haven't even spoke about. Like, I'm just saying things. Like, we have somewhat of an idea, but, like, nothing's set in stone yet because he kind of knows what he's going to do, but, like, I don't even know where I'm going to work. Like, there's just so much that goes into it, and I think that is what freaks me out of the change. But then I have to remind myself that it's going to be worth it. Like, one, if your friends are there for the long run, like, don't worry about them being here and you moving, because, like, you guys will keep in contact. We will visit each other. Our parents, we will all visit. Like, my parents will come up and visit us. We will come back and visit them. Same with Matthew's parents. Like, you know, and his family is kind of all over America too. Like, not all of his family lives in Florida. Not all of my family lives in Florida, like, clearly. So there's just so many different things that I think I get stuck in my own head and really worked up about. And it's like, realistically, those things shouldn't be a problem. Like, everything's going to be fine. And I'll meet new people. I will make new friends. Like, we'll have different new co-workers and we'll socialize and we'll go out and just, it'll be good. But, like, change can be terrifying. But it's usually worth it. And even though you don't see it, like, I don't see what it's going to be worth right now, but I'm trying to tell myself, like, no, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out because you're growing as a person. Like, my life wasn't meant to be in Florida, and I am growing, and I am doing what I have to do for me to grow. And that's a good thing. Sometimes the place that you think you're meant to be isn't the place you're meant to be. You're not supposed to ever stay in one place forever anyway, and I'm not just saying that, like, everyone has to leave the place that they grew up in. Like, that's not what I mean. But I mean, as a person, like, you're not supposed to stay the same forever. Like, you are not supposed to stay the same person that you have been for the past 10, 12 years or 2 years. Like, you go through things, they change your perspective on life, they change your outlook on certain situations, they change how you react to certain situations, it changes how you treat people, how you talk to people, because we experience things and you gain empathy and you gain compassion and you gain happiness and anger and so many things towards people. And you evolve with those things and you change and you become this person that you wouldn't recognize. Like, I wouldn't recognize me 5 years ago. 5 years ago me to today me. 5 years ago me didn't see me being married at 25. Or being married to who I'm married to. Like, 5 years ago me didn't see me living where I live in this apartment with my 2 dogs and my husband. 5 years ago me, my best friend, like, they weren't, I didn't even know some of the people that are in my life right now that are my bestest friends and the best people that we see daily. 5 years ago, I didn't even know they existed. Isn't that wild? And now they are the closest people to me. Like, that's ridiculous. It's crazy, but it's good. And you learn things from people. And it's just like when friendships end or relationships end or a career ends, it's good because it's teaching you something. It's teaching you that, like, you can survive without this person or you can survive without that job because you'll go get a new job. You'll go get new friends. You get a new house. You move to a new state. Move to a new country. Heck, I don't care. But, like, new things are good. And I feel like when people are so scared and hesitant to welcome new things into their life because of change. Because people get in a routine and they like their routine, and change is scary. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good routine. I'm a routine girly to a T. I have a planner, timeline. Like, I am that person. Don't get it twisted. But as I'm growing up, I am trying to go with the flow a little bit more and learn that new things happening in life are good. And that my weekends don't have to look the same every single weekend where, okay, on Sundays we reset the house and we clean everything in it. And Saturdays, if I want to go out, we're going to go out and do this. And my life doesn't have to look like that. Like, my Sundays can be spent enjoying Sundays and at the pool or laying on the couch because I'm tired. Like, stuff like that. Like, change is good and change is nice and it's necessary for us to grow up. And it's never easy to just uproot your life or find a new job or start over. Because usually when you're doing that, it kind of seems like life ended because your normal ended. But it's always worth it because you'll figure it out. Because you do every time, right? Like every bad day you've ever had, you've gotten through it. Just like think about that. Everything bad that has ever happened to you, you have gotten through all of it. You've gotten through the worst days of your life. Figure it out. You do what you have to do and you make it out on the other end, usually better than you would have imagined. And there's nothing like the fear of change and new things coming into your life. You will miss so many opportunities if you stay in the same place and if you just never take a little bit of faith and have faith in yourself and a little bit of hope that you can do this. Your life can change in an instant. It's not always up to you. You're not always in control. It's more scary when you are in control and you're the person making the decisions for whatever it may be. However, sometimes you get laid off. That wasn't in your control. Now you got to figure out how to get a new job. Sometimes you have to leave an apartment or a house. Like we had to leave our old apartment because it was riddled with mold and we literally couldn't live there anymore. And one day we woke up and we were like, our apartment was riddled with mold. They tried to fix it. They didn't. They told us they fixed it and they didn't. And we had to get up and leave. Within like 2 months, we had to be out. Because we couldn't live there anymore. We didn't plan for that. We'd planned on living in that apartment for the next 2 or 3 years. And we had to figure out real quick, where the hell are we going to live? And of course, prices go up and everything changes and where you live and you think you really like it there. But we made it work. We figured it out. We got a new apartment and we've been here a year and a half. And like everything works out. And I love where we live now. Like I actually would never go back to where we used to stay because the street it was on was just so freaking chaotic. But like you figure it out. Not everything has to be bad, and I'm trying to tell myself that things happen for reasons and they're usually pretty good reasons. Sometimes they suck and you don't see it in the beginning, but things happen for reasons and you'll always figure it out. Just like you'll always figure out whatever it is that life throws at you, you know how to handle it and you'll get through it. It's scary, it's terrifying. I have recently had my normal flipped upside down a little bit and I didn't know what to do with myself for a couple months, honestly. Like this was now end of March. My life was like completely flipped again. Like it was a decision that I didn't make. Someone else made the decision and my life pivoted completely and I didn't know what to do with myself because I didn't know myself out with that situation, that bubble. But I figured it out and I lived through it. It wasn't even that awful, but like I was okay. I'm here to tell the story. I didn't die. I made it. Like you have to do what you have to do when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Like what else are you going to do? Like this is the only life we get. So you may as well make the best of it, right? Like why are we going to dwell on things that you can't change? Because you can't change the past. You can't change what happened with situations. You can't fix them if they've already happened and nobody wants to fix them. So why are we going to keep ourselves up at night when you can't change it? And I think that's something I'm trying to tell myself too, is a little bit more with my go with the flow a little bit more of like, okay, that happened. Instead of dwelling on what happened, how am I going to get through it? How am I going to figure out my next move in the situation? Like, am I going to go to therapy and talk about it? Am I going to journal it out? Am I going to scream? Like, am I just going to pretend it didn't happen? Am I going to get myself back up and move on and figure out the best strategy to either get a new job or learn my life without that person if it's a relationship, you know? Like, so many things. You just have to learn how to process it. And it's hard, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It's taken me since the end of March until now, which is now the end of June, which is about 3 months, 2 or 3 months. And I'm still not fully over what happened to me. And I'm still not fully through it. Like, it got easier and I learned how to, like, get through it. But there are times where I'm like, what do I do? It's hard. When someone switches up your complete normal, like, you don't know what to do. But you make it through it, and everything's always fine in the end. It's scary. But you cross paths with people for a reason. People leave your life for a reason. You get fired, you leave it, you whatever, and it's all for a purpose, because you end up where you're meant to end up regardless. Kind of like when I talked about red string theory and soulmates. Like, you will meet those people regardless. Just like you will end up wherever you are meant to end up regardless of what happens. You'll figure it out. You'll make it happen. And it will probably be 10 times better than you could have ever imagined. Like, Matthew doesn't know his life outside of Florida. He's never lived outside of Florida. He doesn't know. Is he going to love it if we move to a cold state? Maybe. Is he going to hate it? Also possible. But, like, this could be the best decision ever. Like, so many things you don't know until you take the first step. And that's the hardest part, is taking the first step to something is the hardest part. Starting something new, like going to the gym. Just getting to the gym is the hardest part of going to the gym. Not the workout, not like getting dressed, not that. Getting to the gym and just starting. It's the same with anything in life. It's hard, but it's always worth it. And another thing I'm trying to focus on more is that the little things matter, but don't sweat them too much if it's going to make your stress and anxiety, because it's not worth that for yourself. So don't sweat the small stuff, because it's okay. Something my aunt actually told me was, don't forgive for them. She told me not to forgive people for them, but to forgive them for me, so that I have peace, because you have to learn to get through it, right? And that's why I say don't sweat the small stuff. Like, I don't even know, for an example, someone gives you a dirty look in the car, or they cut you off and flick you off. Don't hold on to that all day. Like, this idiot this morning on my way to work flicked me off and blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, why are you gonna have that anger all day? Don't. If someone wants to cut you off and flick you off in traffic, just, okay. Like, don't let it bother you enough that you hold on to it. So that's what I mean when I say don't sweat the little stuff. Like, if someone does something so minor like that, don't let it ruin your entire day, because it didn't. Because until that moment, you were having a good day. Say it's first thing in the morning, then you're mad the entire day, then you've had a really shitty day. Say it's on your way home from work, but your day was great until that moment. No, you've still had a good day. They don't need that energy from you at all. Something else that I'm trying to work on, which it's really minor, but it's a really good example of like trying to learn that things don't really matter that much and nothing's ever really of a big of a deal as you think it is the fact that, say, like, we do a lot of pool days at my parents' house, and I have blonde hair and it can't really go in the chlorine because, well, it's blonde. But I'll wash my hair and then, oh, let's go to the beach. And I'm like, well, I just washed my hair. And it's so dumb, and I know that, but now I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. Go and have fun. Stop letting clean hair hold you from back having a good night. Like, who the fuck cares that your hair was freshly washed and now you're getting in the water? Okay, wash it again. Like, who cares? 2 weekends ago on Father's Day, my hair was freshly washed the day before, and we went to church with my dad, and then we were in the pool. And I just put it up in a clip because I wasn't planning on getting it wet. And then I got it wet, and I was jumping in and out of the pool and all of that and having a good time. Because who cares? I came home, washed my hair, and everything was fine, right? Like, your hair getting wet isn't the end of the world. And I'm just saying, like, those little things, they don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. It's really not that big of a deal. And just because you think it is, little stuff like that, it really doesn't matter. And, like, holding on to, like, you're holding back from fun times that you could have had because, oh, I don't want my hair to get wet, or, oh, just, like, that was just an example that I had that I've noticed with myself. But I'll leave you guys with that thought. And I might see you guys next Friday. We will see how everything goes with life. I can't really give you guys too much info, and I'm really sorry about that. But when I can, I will. But for now, I love you, honeys. and I might see you next Friday. Bye, honeys.